differences between the faiths. So what are some of those differences? Can you think of any? Christianity has Jesus in it, right? Right. So you guys know all about Jesus, right?
Well, the Muslims think Ishmael was the father of the chosen people of God instead of Isaac.
Right. Exactly. And who is Ishmael? Do you remember?
One of Abraham's sons.
One of Abraham's sons, right? But our tradition follows it back through Abraham to Isaac, right? The Muslim community follows it back to Ishmael, another son of Abraham. You were going to say it.
Oh, I got it.
Okay, but
The Muslims do pray 5 times a day.
the Muslims pray 5 times a day. They call that call to prayer, right? How do they pray? Do you know?
They pray on their knees.
On their knees, and they face what direction?
Towards the big box. I can't think of the name.
Yep. The big box is in what city? Do you remember?
No.
Oh, you're
Mecca.
so close though. Mecca, exactly. Mecca is the city that they go down on their knees and they bend their head to the ground, and they usually have prayer rugs, sometimes not. But when they hear the call to worship, no matter where they are, they get on their knees, they face east toward Mecca, and they pray 5 times a day. Now, who's the main prophet for the Muslims? Does anybody know? Muhammad, right. Now, did Muhammad say that they had to pray on their knees facing east toward Mecca? No. What did Muhammad say about prayer? Does anyone know? No.
Yeah, it's important.
That it's important. 5 times a day.
Yep.
So Muhammad said pray 5 times a day, but how you pray didn't matter. Why do they kneel and go east toward Mecca? Does anybody know?
I'm forgetting what it's called, but she mentioned it, the box. I think it starts with a K.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what they call it either. Come and think of it. Cube something. But the idea is reverence, right? They're on their knees and they're bowing before God as a sign of respect.
Yeah,
And prayer.
there's like a stone.
And it's the holy city of Muhammad. But Muhammad wouldn't have said that himself, right?
No.
That's like Jesus saying we have to bow toward Bethlehem or Nazareth or Jerusalem or whatever. And Jesus never said that, right? It's just out of respect. There's no law that says you have to do it that way. But do a lot of them do it that way? Yeah. In fact, they do, right? Did Jesus say we had to celebrate Christmas on December 25th every year?
No.
No. Why do we do it?
Because it's the
Because why? It's the birth of Jesus Christ. Actually, no, his birthday, if you follow it back, is probably sometime in March.
Well, I was going to say the same thing, so you know.
All right. Wait, what? Yeah.
Kind of respect and just kind of it's a way of worship and have fun.
Right. Well, it's a way of honoring Jesus, right?
Yeah.
So the idea that you would be on your knees and bowing and respecting Muhammad when you face toward Mecca, right? So that's why they do it, not because there's any law that says you have to. There's no law that says that Christmas has to fall on December 25th every year. It's a tradition. It's a ritual that we do. And that if we do it at the same time every year with everybody else, then there's community all coming together no matter what our community is, right? So that's why we do it. And it's important that we do it because we're all in it together, right? It doesn't mean it's not important just because there's no law that says you have to. It's still important. It's just important for a different reason, right? So there are lots of things like that we have to learn about our own faith. And we learn those things about our own faith by asking other people about their faith, right? So when we learn about prayer in the Muslim tradition, then those are the kinds of things you can ask the folks in the Muslim tradition. Why is it that you pray 5 times a day? Why is it that you pray on your knees? Why do you have to face a certain direction? And does it matter? Can you talk to God without doing that? So if you can, then why would you do it? Good questions to ask, right? That's how you get to know your neighbors. You ask them questions like that. So being neighbors in the same campus, right next to one another, gives us the opportunities to walk next door and talk to our neighbors and ask them those kinds of questions. Why do the Jews have bar mitzvahs at age 13 for the boys and bat mitzvahs for the girls? Okay, do we have, so they become adults in the Jewish community. Do we have anything like that in our Christian tradition? Confirmation! Oh, wow, you guys are good.
I mean, sometimes I think in Mexico where they're Catholic, they may have quinceañeras, but I'm not sure if that's religious or not.
Yeah, their confirmations in Christian traditions happen in lots of different ways. Yeah, so the Roman Catholics would celebrate it a different way than the Protestants would, like we are, right? But they still do it, yeah. Is there a law that says you have to do it? No. Right.
You have to do confirmation though.
You have to do confirmation though, that is a law. It's not really, but it's a way to come together and learn stuff, right? And learn what your traditions are. Because you know what, when we become neighbors with the Jews and the Muslims at the Tri-Faith, guess what? They're going to ask you the same questions about your faith. What are you going to be able to tell them? What you learn. And where do you learn that? Here. Exactly. That's why it's important. So we can have these conversations with our neighbors and know why we do the things we do. We have lots of traditions in this congregation that we do that isn't a law anywhere, but we do them. Did you ever stop to think why? Or did you ever ask people why we do the things we do? That's what confirmation's about. It's your chance to ask those kinds of questions. So they're going through the same kind of education in their faith communities as well. And that's one of the reasons why building for that space to ask those questions is happening. Those buildings are happening for that very reason, so that their faith communities come together, ask questions, and then not only learn about their own traditions, but then be able to ask for other traditions. So this started at 9/11, right? But in 2006, it became kind of official that the Tri-Faith would come together. The Muslim community and the Jewish community decided, yes, they would in fact seek land that they could share. And if they were going to do it for the Muslims and the Jews, why wouldn't they invite the third Abrahamic faith, which is Christianity? Who was the first group of Christians that they asked? Do you know? Pardon me? The Catholics. They asked the Catholics first if they wanted to be a part of it, and the Catholics said? No, right. They had other things they were doing at the time, and they really couldn't dedicate their time or their energy to it. So they said no. Who was the next group of people they said that they asked?
Protestants?
The Protestants. Do you remember which particular denomination?
No, I just know Protestants are the second most.
Right, exactly. And they are the Protestants, but it was the Episcopal Church. Okay? Do you guys know St. Andrews just down the street here at 84th and Pacific? That's an Episcopal church. Okay, so it was their denomination that was asked to be the Christian representative, and what did they say?
No.
Actually, they said yes. In 2006, they decided that they would. So they all of a sudden had not only a dual faith, but they had a tri-faith, right? So all three came together, they incorporated as the Tri-Faith Initiative, and started looking for land that they could share with one another, and each have a section of it for their own buildings, and that's how the Tri-Faith was born. So the Episcopals have been working in the Tri-Faith from 2006 until, how long ago did Countryside get involved? 2014. Yeah. Actually, it was a letter in 2013 that asked us if we would consider helping the Episcopals in some way. Because they were not being successful at trying to get a congregation built on the site. They did a little bit differently than we did. What they decided that they wanted to do was start a brand new congregation on the site. So they were encouraging people from their own faith and from other Christian traditions to be a part of that congregation and build it from the ground up. And even after about 6 to 8 years, they still didn't have enough to support a congregation. And so they asked for help. And so when they came to Countryside, they said, how do you want to help us? And we said, well, we don't know. Let's try lots of different options. So we thought about, just coming together with them and helping support them financially, sending some of our people over there to start a new congregation maybe, which is what's called planting a new congregation, seeding a new congregation with some of our people. We just explored lots of different options about how we could be together with one another. And then it became clear that the Episcopal Church was not ready to take this on because they were tired of doing it. They had been trying for 8 years and they just didn't want to do it anymore. And the more we talked about it, the more excited we got. And we said, one of the reasons why the Muslim community and the Jewish community were so successful at raising money and building and all that stuff on their property is because they had a congregation that already existed, that they literally just moved from one place to another. And it was different than the Episcopals who were trying to grow it from scratch. So we, Countryside, have a whole congregation. And so they suggested, why don't you, as a congregation, consider moving the entire congregation over to the Tri-Faith site? Because you already exist, and you already have all the support and the financial resources and everything else to do that. And then you can ask us to come back and help you. How does that sound? Yeah? What do you think? So what did we do? We said we would consider it, right? Because it sounded like something really fun to do. We already have a congregation. What's wrong with our building?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Piping? Some of the piping? It is older, and there are problems. We have leaks in the ceiling, and there's not a whole lot of parking, right? And there's not a whole lot of green space to go out and play games, and there's no place to have a garden, and there's all those things that we can't stand about this building, right? But there's really nothing wrong with this building, right? It's been a great building for us. And it supplies us with the space that we need to do all the ministries that we have. So why would we move?
Well, I just want to comment. I don't think putting us with, two other religions, two other worship areas is going to help with parking.
Is going to help us parking?
I don't think it's going to help with
We
parking.
could build our own parking lot.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that's so cool about the Tri-Faith is that actually the parking does triple. Because the High Holy Days that they celebrate are different than our High Holy Days. So Christmas and Easter, are they actually worshiping?
No.
When do we have the most people at church?
Christmas and
When do we need the most parking?
Christmas and Easter.
All of a sudden our parking is triple. Right? So parking actually is an issue by going there. We gain more. We have 4.4 or something acres of land right here. And most of it is parking and building, right? There's not much greens. How much acreage will we have in the new place? 6 point something to start with, and then there's 10 acres of common grounds that we would share with everybody else. So we would gain 12 acres of land. So that gives us lots of space for things like community gardens, playgrounds, prayer labyrinths, hiking paths, bridges, right? All kinds of fun stuff like that. So we can do an amphitheater and do some stuff outside. All of a sudden, that's a really cool idea, right? That's one thing. So we do gain some stuff physically about it, but do we really need to do that? Not really. But so why would we do it?
To share, to come together with the other two major Abrahamic faiths
For what purpose?
for learning about each other.
What do you guys think? Is that a worthwhile cause?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So really, there is no financial reason. In fact, it's going to cost us a lot of money to do it, right? There's no real physical need to have to do it because we already have a building that's suiting our needs, right? So the only reason to do it is why? Because it's good for being neighbors, right? We get to stand with our brothers and sisters of different faiths, learn something from them, and explore an even greater expression of how God works in the world. That's worth doing, I think. And I think Countryside came to that same conclusion when they voted yes, they would do it. They had those same arguments. Why would we do it? It's going to cost us money. We don't need to move. We're not gaining a whole lot, some things, but it's just more to take care of. So why would we do it? Because we're following the Spirit's call into the world. To be neighbors with our brothers and sisters and stand with them, saying all faiths are valid. And we need to explore each other's faiths, not so that we become them, but so that we can learn from them, right? We get to keep our own expressions of our faith, but by learning something about them, we also learn a lot more about ourselves. So we actually become better Christians by exploring different religions. Because then we can articulate, we can talk to other people about why it is we do what we do. Because we have an audience to listen, and when we have people that ask us the questions so that we go out and find the answers to it. So we actually learn more by being neighbors. There's lots of really tremendous advantages to being neighbors with other faith communities. So that's why we're doing it. Any questions on any of that stuff? Yeah? Do you have a question?
Yeah, what are the major challenges to do with the tri-faith right now moving forward?
What are the major challenges moving forward? What do you think some of the challenges would be?
Money.
Money. Money is a challenge. How do we raise money? You don't? What did you say?
I said donors.
Donors, right. So all of us give something, right? Over and above what we give to keep this building going, we're going to have to give more money to build the new building. Do you have the pictures of the new building up on the website?
We can. Yeah. Sorry.
Hey, look, there's me. There's me. This is Rabbi Azrael, by the way. It is, but it's campus. Oh no, that's an earlier drawing. I have these pictures. Where are they? How many have you been up in the comments? How much time do I have? Am I doing okay?
Doing okay.
Okay, how many of you guys have been up in the coffee house up there and seen these pictures on the walls?
I don't understand that.
Okay, these are the new building, and it takes quite a bit of money to build a new building. This is what it looks like if you're standing at the synagogue looking at where our property is going to be. So this is actually facing internally, okay? And this big white section right here is where the sanctuary would be, which is right above us, right? So this place right underneath that white area is where you're sitting right now. It's Memorial Hall, okay? And then this little white thing right here is the chapel, okay? And then this whole area right here is one big square, and that's where all the offices and the music buildings or the music rooms are, so like the junior choir room, the choir room, all that kind of stuff. And then downstairs underneath, on the bottom floor, are the Sunday school rooms and the kindergarten rooms for our preschool. Preschool will move with us. And then this is the view of the new building from the parking lot. So the parking lot is literally behind the building. And so when you park, you come in from this direction. And this side faces the lawn and the greens and the other churches, the other communities, right? But this is what you'll see when you park, and then you walk in here. So this right here is the coffee house. This white thing right here is the chapel, and then, so the commons would be right here. And then these are all administrative buildings. Oh yeah. So that's kind of what it looks like. That's what we're raising the money to do. Not only to the land that it's sitting on was actually donated to us. We didn't have to raise the money for that. but that's part of the donation, right? And then that is what it looks like from the patio if you're sitting in the coffee house looking at the offices. So the parking lot is like up here, and this is the coffee house, and then you walk in through here, and those are administration offices over there. That's what that's all about. And this isn't quite finalized yet, but it's getting closer. When you first walk in the building, what you walk into is a grand foyer. It's like a big open space. And what you see is just nothing but glass and a big stairwell that leads down that's also glass. So when you walk into the building, literally, you can see all the way through it. And what do you see when you look that direction? The temple. And what do you see when you look that direction? The mosque. Right. So it was designed in order to keep all three buildings within a viewpoint of one another. That's kind of cool, huh? To remember why you're there. So this is our sanctuary layout. It's kind of a blueprint. It looks similar to what our sanctuary looks like now, where the seating goes in a U like this, and then the actual space where you guys would sing for faith singers, or where the pastors are, or the choirs. Choirs are all up here. That's all like right here in the middle. And then there's a window here and here, and then there's a window here and here. What do you see when you look out this window? The temple, right. What do you see when you look out this window? The mosque, right. So every part of our building has some kind of view to our neighbors. So we remember that we are neighbors, and that we're all kind of in that together. So we designed the building specifically for that reason. So that's part of where the money will go, is in there. There's also some money that we're putting into the fund that just has money that sits in the bank, so that even 5 years after we move there, we have some money in which to help maintain that new building, to keep the windows clean, to keep the carpets clean, right? To clean up after you guys when you're in here for confirmation on Wednesday nights, that kind of stuff. So that's called a maintenance fund. And so we're raising money so that even after we get there, we have the money to be able to maintain that building. So that's part of it. That's one of the challenges. Can you think of another challenge that we have that we'll have to face? Relocation. We're going to have to literally move everything, right? So you guys are going to be here to pick up chairs and carry them over there, right?
Yeah, I'll be here. We're not walking over there, right? We're taking off.
Well, that's part of it. We are going to have to move stuff, and we're going to have to decide what we keep and what we don't keep. All that kind of stuff is a part of it. What else do we have challenges? The cost, yeah, and deciding what's worth the cost, right? Like, do we take the bell tower with us or don't we? You know, so deciding all like the stained glass and things that we have here that mean a lot to us, do we want to take those? Yeah, we're going to have to figure out a way, right? Right, if we keep this church or if we sell it. Whether or not we take the pinball machine, I would say that probably will win.
Oh, yeah.
We will move the pinball machine.
Never mind. Okay, how about the fact that not everybody thinks it's such a great idea that we're going?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. Do you guys know of anybody that's not so happy with the fact that we're going?
Well, I know there is some people that want to maybe it's a lot closer.
Right, because it's close to their home. And it's close to West Side, right? It's been their community church for a long, long time. So to let go of this is a hard thing. So we have to acknowledge that. There are certain kind of like challenges or sacrifices we're going to have to make to go there. We have to make decisions about things like that. And it hurt a lot of people to even consider that. So we lost some members of our congregation over this, right? There were people that were so angry about the fact that we wanted to do this that they left the congregation. And that leaves a hole here for us, not only financially, but we lost some friends over that, right? So that's a challenge. What else? What about the people in the community that aren't so pleased with what they think Muslims are all about? Do you know of anyone that thinks Muslims are not safe people?
Not anymore.
You do? Yeah. There are a lot of people out there that believe that all Muslims are like terrorists, right? And so they're scared about that, and that's a challenge. And that's part of our job, is to be able to talk to people about what we know to be true about the Muslims and how we're friends with the Muslims and what that means for them. You know, so we have to come together. That's part of the reasons why we're going there, is to show them that we can all live in one place without hurting one another, right? That we are peaceful people, that we all follow God, that we are all looking for a peaceful place and an opportunity to worship God, and that that's our main objective, not to have terrorists running around killing people, right? So that's part of the challenge. There's a whole lot of people out there in the world that think it's not safe for us to go. And so that's a challenge that we're going to have to face. Because we know from being neighbors that these people aren't out to hurt us, right? But we only know that because we're neighbors, right? We know each other. We took the time to get to know one another before we actually moved there. How many of you have been to a lot of the events that we've done together with the groups? Like the Tri-Faith Picnic. How many of you guys went to that? Okay. And the Circle of Peace, some of you guys said you were at that, right? And then there's a youth group event with the Tri-Faith folks, so there are folks from the Muslim community and the Jewish community. So you'll have opportunity to do more and more of that. So once you get to know these people more and more, you become less afraid of them. They become your friends, right? So that's kind of what we're modeling that for other people, to show them that that's possible. That's a challenge for us. Okay, what else were you thinking when you asked that question?
There's you in the field with Aaron.
Oh, yeah. Can't see that very well, but we were walking over there.
I think Travis might have a question.
Travis?
Yeah, I'm just wondering something. Will the location for the new, well, for just all the new worship buildings, will that be anywhere near Temple Israel? Because I don't understand why they would want to give up that building.
We each own our own amount of acreage on that same square. Do you have the layout, the campus layout up there?
Like, will there be a new area for Temple Israel, or is it just going to be?
No, they're staying in their building and we're building our own building.
They were the
Around
first
them?
building built there.
They're
So-
the first of the, there will be 4 buildings on those 30, it's literally
And so-
37 acres. And right now, there's a second building being built. Have you been out to the site recently?
Yeah, my friend goes.
Right, there is a new building being built there, that's the mosque. They'll have their own building. And then this building is our own building that we will be building, this.
Okay.
But it'll be just across the creek from where the synagogue is.
And one more thing, why can't we just have 2 separate buildings? Like, we could get more stuff for another building and kind of just keep it without, well, minimalizing the amount of churches.
Well, because
Omaha.
we do have lots of things in common, but we also have lots of things that we're different about, right? We're our own faith communities, and we each have our own rituals and traditions, and we have different things about our buildings that we like, and that feed what we do for traditions and rituals. Like our sanctuary looks a little bit different than their sanctuary, because they worship differently than we do. They have dietary laws that we don't have. Do you guys know what it means to be kosher in the Jewish faith? Right, they don't eat pork, they don't eat shellfish, so if you cook something with pork or shellfish, it makes the whole kitchen unclean and they have to do it a different way. So we don't have those same laws, so to share a kitchen would be really hard. And it's not just with the Jews, but the Muslims have their own dietary laws too. So we're not merging and becoming one faith. We're just being neighbors with one another. So we're keeping our separate buildings, doing our own separate things, but then doing some things together that we can do things together on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so are we going to be keeping this building?
Are we gonna what?
Are we going to keep, I'm still kind of confused.
This particular building?
Yeah.
We will sell it. Like if you were to move your home But if you move from one neighborhood to another neighborhood, you sell the home you're in and you buy another home in a different neighborhood, it's the exact same thing. With this home we're selling and we are building a new home in a new neighborhood.
Okay.
Right, part of the money that we get from selling this building, we will use to build a new building.
Do you have any idea how much money it's gonna cost
$27 million.
for every single one combined?
No, for ours.
Just ours?
Ours. It was 22 million for the sanctuary and it was 18 million for the mosque.
And I'm guessing we've been raising money since around 2006?
Yeah, well, for the last 3 years, yeah. We've been raising money little by little through the community.
That does not sound like a little.
2
So-
years. 2 years.
What did you, the sanctuary was,
The sanctuary? What about the sanctuary?
That's your second.
what's this, the sanctuary is, there's the temple, there's the mosque, and then what's the sanctuary?
Oh, the sanctuary is where we actually worship. It's right above us. That's, that
Just the
room?
sanctuary is,
No, the whole building is 27 million. But this whole building gets sold for probably, it's assessed at 4 million, but hopefully we'll get a little bit more than that.
Are you selling this website?
Whoever wants to buy it.
Gretchen has a
So
question.
our new church is 27 million and this is 4?
When we sell it, yeah.
You guys want to give a couple million?
Yeah.
It would not turn
what's
into
that
big.
now?
Well,
How much do we want to raise so far?
Gretchen's had a question for a little while.
We have about 25.25 or something already raised. Yeah. She said she saw a rainbow out on the site this summer. That was really cool.
So basically, if somebody was willing to pay like $4 million, it could be like a standard home.
This house? Or this, yeah, house of worship. It could be. It could be turned into a school. Another church could buy it. There are lots of things when you plan a community, they have what they call zoning. Okay, so there are some parts of a city that are used for commercial sites where stores and stuff go, where you can actually sell stuff. That's called commercial zoning. And then there are parts of a city that are saved for things like schools and churches and YMCAs and nonprofit organizations, things like that. And that's called communal zoning. This place where we are right now is a communal zone, which means Pizza Hut can't buy this place and use it as a Pizza Hut. They have to change the zoning to use it that way. They can do that, but it just takes longer. So it's likely that it's going to be somebody like a school, another church, another nonprofit organization, or somebody that will buy this because it's already zoned as a communal zone.
Is the new church gonna have a gym?
The new church doesn't actually, well, it does. It's not called a gym though, is it? Is it called an activity center?
It's called a community center.
Community center. It's a multi-purpose kind of a center. Can be used as a gym, but it's not like a full basketball court kind of gym.
But there's a full basketball court outside.
Outside.
Wait.
Mhm. Sand volleyball, there could be.
If we donate extra money, would that happen?
You guys could raise money for a sand volleyball pit. That'd be fun. So I don't know what other questions you guys have. What other questions do you have about the tri-faith?
I think we're
You
good.
live in Omaha that long?
We're good? Okay.
Are you gonna live in Omaha?
If you do have any other questions, or if you yourself want to give, now it's likely that your parents are already giving some money toward the cause, and if they're not, you might want to ask them to do that. That would be great. But if you yourself want to do it, you certainly can. I mean, right now we have what we call a matching gift going on. So any money that you give actually gets doubled. So say I gave 10 bucks. The people that put up the matching gift will also give 10 bucks because they're matching my fund. So if you want to give 10 bucks to the thing and have your name on the list, you certainly can do that, and then it turns into 20. So it could be 10 bucks, it could be 20 bucks, it could be 50 bucks, it could be whatever you want it to be. If you want to be a part of that, you certainly can, or you can be a part of it with your family and have your family do it. That's how the donations get raised. So if you want to do that, let me know. There's lots of ways to go about doing it. Maybe you could do it as a class and take up a donation and then give it so that it gets matched. That'd be kind of fun. Do a bake sale, something like that. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. You now know more than the average person about the Tri-Faith and its history. I noticed some of you guys weren't taking notes, so take out your paper and write some thoughts that you had from Chris's presentation. You didn't get one? They're right up here. They're always right there. And I think one of the cool things about the Tri-Faith, I'll just say this while you're filling in some answers, things that you learned. Guys, on the right-hand side, you'll see, and Luke talked about it earlier, the issue of Ishmael and Isaac. You know, Ishmael was born first from Abraham, and Isaac was born second. And Christianity has claimed Isaac as the heir, you know, passing the descendants. And Islam has claimed that it was Ishmael that should have had the birthright. But the birthright was given to Isaac, the second born. A kind of unusual circumstance. And so there's been fighting for centuries. Centuries. Muslims and Christians have fought each other, I mean, for almost all of time. And then Jews also were in the fight. So this is a really cool thing. When I was looking at this church and considering applying to work here, I saw that and I was just like, whoa, that is amazing. That these groups who have hated each other for generations are willing to get together and share and promote peace. I think it's a huge step in the right direction in our world. So, finish writing. When you really, thanks Chris, really, you want to write as much as possible because you're going to forget it by tomorrow. So, you know, write it in a way that you could look at it and say, oh yeah, I remember that. That first one's not going to do it. Everybody get it? Any questions? Everybody good? After you've written some thoughts on there, you may go.